All right, my weekly bagel family. I'm back again with another episode. Let's get real today. This is Mr. Chime from WeeklyBagel.com, and I have another big weekly bagel episode for you today. The last episode that I did, I talked about what kind of jobs you need to get to afford a place of your own. I'm assuming that you already gotten the job and you did like I advised in episode 3, where I told you to save for at least 6 months. And now you're ready to find a place of your own, but you're contemplating whether you're going to be able to do it on your own or you're going to need help with paying the bills by getting a roommate. Well, today, I got you. The thesis of my episode today is it smarter to get roommates or stretch your budget to live alone? I know some of you all are this close to throwing your hands over dirty dishes. And if you're like me, someone that likes a very clean apartment, uh, having a roommate that is dirty is going to be a trigger. Am I right? And it's going to be a constant stress. I don't know about you. But then when you look at the rent prices, in some of our cities in America, you're like, God, I guess I gotta get a roommate. And there's nothing wrong with that. So in this episode, I'm gonna explore, the pros and cons of each, and we contemplate on which one is best for you, before you finally go out there to start looking for apartments. Uh, Before I continue, let's talk about it. You and I, we know that living solo is freedom. There's nothing more beautiful than at the end of the day, after a long day at work, you come back to your own place. You can turn the AC all the way down or all the way up, and the foods that you left in your refrigerators are there when you come back, right? And you can enjoy your peace, crack open a bottle of beer, and say to yourself, hey, it's been a very good day and I deserve this. And you have yourself a great time. That is freedom. But is freedom worth stretching your budget for? Or is it better sticking it out with a roommate? Which one is the smarter move here? Today, I am going to be breaking it down in Weekly Bagel style. I'm going to talk about reality and from a place of no shame and no judgment, because I've had a roommate once in my entire life and I only lasted for 4 months. Yeah, the story is coming up, so I'm gonna tell you about that. But right now, we're gonna be talking about two teams here. We have team I want my own space, and then we have team let's just split everything until you can make enough to afford living alone. That's what this episode is going to be about. Now, let me start with the roommate options. Now, I know that roommates can be stressful. There is always that one person who never buys toilet paper but uses half the roll every single day. Or the one who thinks 2 a.m. is the perfect time in the morning to start blending a smoothie or vacuuming the goddamn floor. You and I, we've been there before. If you have had a roommate, or you've known somebody that have had a roommate, or you're contemplating having a roommate and you have not been there before, I'm sure you could relate to it. Having a roommate is a survival strategy. Naturally, unless you're dating someone and you two move in, I think as young working class adults, we are supposed to have a place of our own because it's something that is an accomplishment. It's like getting a job. Yeah. Society has a script whereby, once you step outside your parents' nest and you finally, have a place of your own, you're supposed to keep that independency. because that independency is a testament of your strength and your resilience. Hence, why most people like having a place of their own. So having a roommate is a survival strategy. If people can do away with it, like if people make a lot of money, chances are they probably don't want a roommate. But if you live in a city where rent eats up half of your paycheck before you can even buy groceries, then that's when the thoughts of having a roommate come along, because that's gonna help you put aside money without breaking your bank account, right? Now let's look at the numbers. If you're a one-bedroom apartment in your city, $1,600, but you can split a two-bedroom apartment for $2,200 total. Suddenly, you're only paying $1,100 each state. That's $500 in savings every single month. Over a year, you would have accumulated $6,000. And that, my friend, is enough to build a strong emergency fund, or even help you knock out some debts. And it's not just rent. If you have a roommate, according to the contract you two are going to draw, it's going to help you pay for utilities. Internet bills get shared. And sometimes, depending on how you two are vibing, groceries and streaming services get shared too. So financially, roommates can be the fastest way to keep most of your paycheck. It's one of the fastest ways to keep most of your paycheck. This is because somebody is helping you with the financial burden of paying your rent and other monthly expenses that is not very personal. And this is good, especially if you're trying to get out of credit card debt, if you're building savings, if you're trying to escape the paycheck to paycheck stress. Say you're making less than $15 an hour and your rent constitutes about 50 to 60% of your paycheck. That's a lot. Having a roommate will help you take that burden away, because now you don't have to pay 60% of your paycheck as rent, right? You're paying about 30 because someone else is paying the other 30%. And this is not without its catch, as you're already thinking about it as I'm talking. It is true that roommates may save you money, but they will cost you your peace. Let me tell you why. Remember, when you get a place now and you're sharing that space with somebody, it's no longer about you. That means you are going to keep your habits under control, your quirks under control. You are going to take the other person into consideration. That means if you're someone that enjoys playing music loud around 9 p.m. and the other person likes to sleep, playing music loud at 9 p.m. is going to create conflict between you and your roommate, right? This is because your home is no longer fully yours. Somebody else owns it too, because somebody else contributes to the rent. As a result, they are entitled on how and what you do around the space. Also, your schedule is no longer yours too, in the sense that if you are someone that likes to go out and then come back around 12 a.m. in the morning with your friends, and you all are going to play a little game and not sleep till like 3 a.m. in the morning, you may consider not getting a roommate, because that may not sit well with your roommate, right? So, depending on if you value your sanity versus valuing saving more money, I will tell you whether you would go with having a roommate or not. And speaking of sanity here, if Your sanity will depend on who you live with. If you live with someone that does not really care and is not very considerate, you will be very miserable. Your sanity will be out of the window. This is because chances are you're always going to be in a full-blown conflict with this person. And that takes me to the next thing that I'm going to say to you. Before you even contemplate about getting a roommate, you have to know yourself to a certain extent. You have to know the kind of things you can tolerate and something you cannot tolerate. You have to know what you can put up with, so that if you're finally going to get a roommate, you know the kind of person you're looking for. Here is an example. You are a no-nonsense person that doesn't like bullshit. Obviously, you're not going to go for someone that bullshits a lot and doesn't follow through with things, right? The person is going to get on your nerves. If you're a very clean person, you like your apartment space clean because that brings you peace. Whenever you're in a very clean place, you function very well. And you clean your apartment and you go to work and then you come back and your place is a pigsty. Then it's a good idea not to go for somebody that likes dirtiness, because they function well when there's a state of disorientation and disorganization, because that is going to drive you nuts. So your sanity depends on who you live with. So yeah, roommates can be smarter for your money, or for saving money, or for your wallet, and putting aside money for emergency fund. But they will be very expensive on your mental health if you get the wrong roommate. You get what I mean? So even if your city has a very high cost of living and you're looking for somebody to live with, you gotta make sure that you are able to do your due diligence in selecting the person that you want. Otherwise, that money you're saving as a result of someone helping you to pay the bills will not even be worth it, because you're gonna be so mentally distraughted that you won't even have a peace of mind. You get what I mean? And that brings us to the other side, living alone. When, as a person that lives alone, let me tell you something. It's a freedom and a peace that comes with a price. And the price is you paying the full rent, which to me personally is not a big deal, because I like my space. I like to have my own things, and I don't like to share. Are you like me? Well, if you're like me, then perhaps you're meant to live alone and not put up with drama. Now, let's talk about the dream a lot of us have, living alone. There's no passive aggressive chats about dishes, right? So that means you wake up in the morning, you're about to go to work, you could, make some eggs or make your breakfast and eat it, and you don't want to do the dishes right there. You want to do it when you come back home. You're not going to be receiving text messages all day long from a roommate telling you, hey, you left your dishes, why didn't you wash it? You get what I mean? Yes. That sort of passive aggressive group chats about dishes is not going to be happening. Nobody's going to be complaining about random hair in the shower drain. You don't have to label your leftovers in the refrigerator because someone keeps going in there to eat your food, which to God, I swear to God, drives me crazy. You get? And if you're that kind of person, I would say, yeah, consider paying that much to live alone, because it's worth it. Living alone is freedom. You get to decorate your apartment space the way you want. As working class adults, at the end of the day, we want to have a safe space, right? If we put up with a lot of things at work, if we have had a very long day and we are so stressed out outside of our home, We want to come back and feel at home. We want to come back and feel at peace. Immediately we open that door and we open that door and walk right in. We want a state of perpetual peace until we step outside of the apartment again. So living alone provides the freedom. Living alone provides the freedom to decorate your living space the way you want, a way where you can function, And if you're someone that likes art, if you're a Star Wars fan or anime fan, you like to put little figurines everywhere, you could do that because it's what brings you peace, right? It's what you like. And you're not going to have somebody moving around and tell you, hey, I don't like this thing here. We've talked about this many times. You do understand what I'm trying to say to you, right? You get to set up your space the way you want. You can walk around in towels or not. It's your space. You can control the thermostat the way you want. If you want to go all the way to Arctic Circle, you can put it to -0 degrees Celsius. Nobody's gonna complain. As long as you're not getting frozen and or if you want to put it as hot as Sahara Desert, hey, it's your place. You get what I mean? You get to do whatever it is that you want. It's your place. It brings you peace. But here is the thing here. Such freedom comes with a price tag, and that is paying your full rent by yourself, right? Now let's go back to the math. If you are living in a solo apartment that is $1,600 versus $1,100 with roommates, that's $500 more you're paying every month. Over a year, that's $6,000 more just for peace and privacy. Now, if you can afford that comfortably, meaning that you are still able to save, and you're still able to pay your bills, you're still able to hang out with your friends and have fun, hey, by all means, go for it. The reason why I'm telling you this is because mental health is worth it. And personal space is worth it. This is especially if you're financially stable. And if you listen to my last episode where I talked about what kind of jobs you need to get a place of your own, the jobs and the industries that I listed there should be able to help you make enough to pay your rent and your monthly expenses and still be able to sustain yourself. So if you're someone like me that do not like sharing space with people because you want a place where at the end of the day, after work and after classes, a place where you can distress, I say go for it. Yeah, this is especially if you did what I advised in episode 3, where you have saved for 6 months or more. I'm quite confident that with a stable job and a steady income stream that is coming in every month, you're going to be able to afford it. But if living alone means that you're spending 50% of your income or 60% of your income on rent, and you can't even save $100 a month, and you're stressed about every single unexpected expense. Like say you're driving and suddenly your tire pops, and then you gotta fix your tires and it's gonna cost about $400, and you don't have that $400. Then I would advise, for the time being, you may want to find a roommate, until you're able to be at that point in life where you can afford living alone, either because you're making enough to live alone or you've saved enough to live alone. This is because living alone stops being freedom when you are financially stressed. If you have a place of your own, but you're barely making rent and you're barely able to sustain yourself, that's stressful. That's stressful. And, it creates a lot of uncertainties in the sense that you don't know what tomorrow brings and you're constantly anxious. It stops being joyful when living alone is creating unnecessary stress in the sense that you don't even have anything to show for it. Like one could go to your bank account right now and you don't even have $100. That if you lost your job today, you'll be out in the street because you don't even have emergency fund. In as much as I would like to say that that's not the case, unfortunately, it's the case of some working class adults today. A big percentage too. It's something I called quiet suffering, where most working class adults that you're gonna meet, or some working class, I'm not gonna say most because that is an exaggeration. Because I know a lot of people like me that are independent. Some working class adults out there, they live in these expensive apartments and they drive this car whose car notes are like really, really high, up to $500 a month. And they are barely surviving. I mean, they're able to make their rent and their car notes and the insurance, but at the end of the month, they don't have anything left to put aside in case of a rainy day. And if that's not the kind of thing you want, perhaps you may want to consider a roommate, for a while. It doesn't have to be for a long time, because I'm assuming that you're the kind of young working class adult that has dreams and want to hit certain goals at certain point in their lives, right? So no one may be bothering you at home because you live alone, but now you can't even afford to go out. You can't save. You can't have an emergency without panicking. Go find yourself a roommate if you know this is going to be you. Anyways, the real question becomes, can you live alone without stretching yourself thin? Or are you sacrificing long-term peace for short-term comfort? That's something I want you to contemplate before you even consider this. And to be able to contemplate and arrive at a necessary conclusion, it means taking yourself into account what it is that you really want. Again, if you are 19 years old, or you're 20 years old, or you're 21, or you're in early 20s, you're still young, and assuming that this is your first job, second job or third job, and you're not in any professional job yet, I want you to think about this. I mean, what is the worst that could happen besides the things I've talked about when you have a roommate, right? If you're able to tolerate it for the next 2 years, you could set some good goals where while you're with a roommate, you could just go into a trade school, acquire new skills so you can get a better paying job and be able to afford a place of your own. As long as it's not really something permanent, I think you'll be all right. So consider these two questions. Can you live alone without stretching yourself thin financially, without breaking your bank, without going broke? Or are you good sacrificing your long-term peace for short-term comfort? And whatever answer that you arrived at will determine whether you're going to be able to live alone or get a roommate for the meantime. Okay, let's get into how you're going to be able to make this decision in a very smart way, because both options have pros and cons. Roommates save you money but cost you peace. Living alone gives you peace but costs you money. Here are the 3 big questions to ask yourself. Firstly, can I keep rent under 30 to 35% of my monthly income if I live alone? For example, If you make $4,000 a month, rent should ideally stay under $1,200 to $1,400. If your solo rent is $1,800 and you are only making about $3,500, that's a red flag. This is because you are going to get stretched every single month, in the sense that after paying your $1,800, you still have other expenses that you're going to pay for, right? Your car note, no telling what it is, your car insurance, light bills, water bills, and other things that you have going on for you. So it's a red flag. Now, my second question that I want you to ask yourself is, do I have at least 1 month of expenses saved before I take on solo living? Because if anything goes wrong, car breaks, hours get caught at work, you get fired, you get sick enough not to go to work, you need that cushion. I recommend having 6 months worth of savings. I talked about this in episode 3. Check it out. 6 months is better. And if not, you don't get this. If you don't have any savings for a few months saved before you find a place of your own, every month you're living like every month you're just not built to withstand any kind of sudden emergency that will happen to you. That means if you come to work and suddenly you're fired, you're screwed. Unless you're able to get a job within 2 weeks, so that by the end of the month, you're going to have 2 weeks worth of paycheck coming in to be able to make rent, you're going to be out in the street. So the question that I want you to think about is, do you have at least 1 month of expenses saved before you get a place of your own living alone? I recommend 6 months at least. But if you have 1 month, that's going to give you 1 month worth of break before everything comes crashing down. Now, the third question that I want you to ask yourself is, am I mentally at a place where I need this space for my health? Peace is everything. I don't know about you. For me, family and peace is everything. What does this mean? I mean that I can walk out of a job if it's affecting my peace. The same with an apartment. The same with any other thing that is causing me stress. This is especially if I'm able to confront the stressor, and it seems unresolvable, and it seems like it's something that is going to escalate. Nothing is worth it. You get what I mean? Nothing is worth sacrificing your mental health for. Because you need to be in a very good space, mental space, to be able to function very well in society, to be able to take care of yourself, to be able to make money enough to take care of your needs. And if you're constantly anxious because you live alone, or you're sharing an apartment with someone that doesn't respect your space, then it's not worth it, right? Yeah, sometimes peace is worth paying for. But if the peace is causing you severe anxiety, in the sense that you know that if something is to happen to you right now, you don't even have money to feed yourself today and the next day, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, then it might be a very good idea to sit down and consider these 3 questions, to make sure that you are making the right decision for yourself, so it will not really impact you in the long term. Here is something I want to throw out there. If you're right on the age, meaning that you could stretch and live alone, but it will be tight, I would advise you to do 1 year of living with someone, because that will help you save aggressively, right? Because instead of paying the whole 100% of the rent, you're paying 50%. And if you're paying 50% of the rent, you could put aside that 50% in your bank and do that for 1 year, see how much you're going to have, and move. Find a place of your own, and knowing fully well that that money, that 50% that you've put aside has accumulated, that's an emergency fund right there. Just in case if anything happens to you while you're living alone, you're not going to be stranded, right? So that way you move out and up, not move out and broke, right? Here is my thought on this, my concluding thought on this. There's no correct way of going about this. Yes, it is true that I live alone and I enjoy my peace and all that. But just because it works out for me doesn't mean it's going to work out for you, right? It's not really about which one is better. It's about which one keeps you stable and sane. And by stable, I mean financially stable. And sane, I mean peace of mind. If roommates help you stack money and get out of debt and breathe financially, hey, do it for a while. Have a timeline for it. Get a board, a journal, write, hey, I'm going to do this for like 3 years or 2 years. And then put aside that money that, you're not paying into that rent in a savings account. And save it until the end of your projected time period. If living alone gives you peace without wrecking your wallet, that's a win too. I say go for it. This is because you're protecting your energy and your future at the same time. But if you're in that spot where living alone feels like freedom, but financially you don't think it's worth it, that is your sign to pause and think about, getting a roommate, or pause and save more than 6 months, maybe save for a year or 15 months, and then make the solo move and find a place of security where you can live in peace and happiness, hopefully. Here's something I want you to know while you're doing this. Whichever strategy you decide to go with, broke is temporary. Survival mode is always a strategy. Just because you're living with someone or you have a roommate doesn't mean that it's going to be like that forever. That's why I advise you to have a timeline for it, so that way it's not something that you're going to do for a long time. Instead, you're using it as a strategy to save, or you're using it as a strategy to go back to school and get a higher degree while keeping your cost low, or you're using it to get another skill. Whatever it is, what matters is doing it from a place where none of the decisions you make is going to affect your peace. And if you're able to do that, that's an ultimate flex right there. Because personally, as a young working class adult like you, I want you to always be at peace and you're always growing while you are stacking your money. I don't want a situation whereby something is gonna give in a very negative way for you to achieve what you want to do. For instance, I don't want you to be, chasing that money, but your mental health is ruined. And I don't want you to have that money finally, and your mental health is ruined. You see, I want you to be doing things from a perspective where you have the peace of mind while you're going for the goals that you've set for yourself. There may be occasionally stress here or there, but it won't be enough to derail everything you've planned so far. That's how I want you to go about it. You hear? I'm always rooting for you, and we're all in this journey together. This is Mr. Chime, a young working class adult like you, living in America, in the great state of Texas. And I hope you sit down and think about this before getting a place of your own. And as I mentioned in the first episode when I introduced myself, I told you we are always going to constantly grow, right? Just because you finally got a place of our own and we're financially stable doesn't mean it stops right there. Because anything can happen that puts us in a position where we may have to move back to our parents' house, God forbid, which I hope not. And the reason why I say this is once we move out, we are out. And we are gonna we're gonna keep on going, right? There's gonna be an upward trajectory once we get a place of our own. And that's what it means to be a strong, financially independent, young working class American. Once you move out, you stay out. Why? Because you're constantly growing, no matter how slow the growth is. So my dear friend, as you are preparing to get a place of your own, after you've gotten a job and you've saved for at least 6 months, contemplate on what your short-term goal is for the next 5 years, or just do a 10-year goal, a long-term goal, and see which one is going to help you best. Living by yourself or getting a roommate until probably you finish college, until you acquire a new skill, until you get a new job that pays you more than you're making right now. And I know for a fact that you've got what it takes because you have the mental acumen to make decisions that will lead you to a better place in life. All right, I'm Mr. Chime, and I am going to conclude this episode now. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm out.